Howdy, my name is Yashwant Vyas, and today we will be taking leadership on street. This is ALED 340 survey in leadership, and we'll be asking people to define leadership, name an effective leader, and why he or she is an effective leader. So let's get started. Howdy, my name is Yashwant Vyas, and I have a few questions for you today, if you don't mind answering those for me.
Okay.
So, how do you define leadership?
Leadership is when somebody is able to get others to execute things effectively and efficiently.
Do you have an example of an effective leader?
I would go with my boss.
Why do you think your boss is an effective leader?
He's over like 3 different departments, I think, here in the university setting. And I mean, we're all students, so he's able to get all of us with our crazy class and like other types of schedules. He's able to get us here and working effectively and efficiently and doing things and having everything running smoothly.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time. Okay, let's ask your co-worker here. Hi, my name is Yashwant Vyas, and I have 3 questions for you if you don't mind answering those for us. So how do you define leadership?
Leadership is staying open-minded and kind while reaching towards a similar goal as people.
Do you have an example of an effective leader?
Probably my fishing camp coach here. She really just worked hard to make sure that we all worked towards the same goal, and she was kind and sweet to us about it and didn't really boss us around. She was just really nice about it.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. You guys have a wonderful day.
Thanks, you too.
Alright, we are going to ask other people what leadership to them is, so let's get started. Hi, ma'am. My name is Yashwant Vyas, and I have a few questions if you don't mind answering those for us.
Sure.
How do you define leadership?
I define a leader to be somebody that helps a group of people, leads a group of people to accomplish a positive action.
Okay, do you have an example of an effective leader?
One of my high school ROTC instructors, I guess I would consider him a leader.
Why do you consider him to be an effective leader?
He served 21 years in the military, and then after he retired, he dedicated his life to help high school students. He was a senior instructor, so he helped students go to college, and then after that he still contacts us to see like, hey, how are you doing? You need any help? And he's still trying after we don't see him anymore or his students.
So basically, he motivates a lot of high school students and also helps you, achieve your goal.
Yes.
Right? All right. Thank you so much for your time. You have a wonderful day.
Thanks, you too.
Hi. Some random people, what leadership to them is. Excuse me, ma'am. Do you have a couple of minutes to ask a few questions you have? Okay. So my first question is, how do you define leadership?
Leadership is when someone stay calm within the chaos. Like the president has such important decisions to make, and he does such an amazing job at handling them.
Do you have an example of an effective leader?
An effective leader? I have to say my mom. I know that's weird, but she does such a great job at managing our household. She's an amazing woman, and she has always had a career and a family, and she's been able to balance that perfectly her whole life.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for your time. You have a wonderful day.
Thank you so much. You too.
The Academic Plaza, and let's ask people here what leadership to them is. So let's go. Ma'am, do you have a quick minute?
Sure.
Okay, so we have a few questions for you today. How do you define leadership?
I guess somebody who makes a good example for the people who I don't know, someone who looks out for other people, makes a good example, is always concerned with the everybody else's abilities and what they're able to do. So I guess, someone who's not selfish.
Awesome. So somebody who's not selfish.
Yeah.
Do you have an example of an effective leader?
Probably Martin Luther King.
And why do you think he's an effective leader?
Well, because he was always, it wasn't really about himself, it was about others and just helping others become equal. And it wasn't really a selfish point of view. So
awesome. Thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful day.
Yeah.
Alright, so we are going to ask these people what they think leadership is about. Excuse me, do you have a couple of minutes?
Sure.
Okay, so how do you define leadership?
Define leadership. Someone who's able to get a crowd going. Someone who's able to be inspiring, have big meaning behind what they're doing.
Do you have an example of an effective leader?
example of an effective leader. Well, two come to the top of my head. They're both in my family, of course. My grandfather and one of my uncles.
And why do you think they are effective leaders?
Why do I think they're effective leaders? My grandfather, he's absolutely given me the ability to, pursue my dreams, be able to, go through hard times, be able to, get over big hurdles, and he's always been there supporting me all the way.
So basically, he has been an inspiring role model for you.
Absolutely, 100%.
Thank you so much for your time. Have a wonderful day.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay, we have somebody over there studying, but we are going to disturb them for just quick few minutes and ask them about leadership. So, come here. Excuse me, miss. Hello. Do you have a couple of minutes to answer a few questions for us?
Sure.
Okay, so how do you define leadership?
I think a leader is one who's able to lead with confidence and, be able to guide people when it's needed.
Do you have an example of an effective leader?
I think an effective leader would be Paulo Coelho.
And who is he?
He is a Brazilian author, and he's definitely writing a lot of books about his life and guidance.
So why do you think he's an effective leader?
I think he's an effective leader because he's able to communicate to the people through hardships and through his words.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. You have a wonderful day.
Thank you. You too.
Let's ask people here out in front of the library what they think leadership to them is about. Excuse me, sir. Sir, do you have a couple of minutes to answer your questions for us?
Sure.
Okay, so the first question is, how do you define leadership?
That's a good question. Well, I believe a good way of describing leadership is someone who's able to influence and impact those around him.
Awesome. So do you have an example of an effective leader?
I do actually. I work with the library here, and one of them is Dale. She's able to pull that off. When I work with her, I kind of see how she does things with students.
Okay, so why do you think she's an effective leader?
Oh, well, based on the example she gives us, she never lets her students down. I see her cleaning up the kitchen every so often, that makes me want to clean up my mess. So.
Awesome, thank you so much for your time. You have a wonderful day.
Yeah, okay.
Alright, let's see who we can find next. Excuse me, ma'am. Do you have a quick minute to answer a few questions for us? Okay, how do you define leadership?
Leadership, a lot of it is just being able and willing to make hard decisions and carry them through.
Do you have an example of an effective leader?
George Washington
Okay, why do you think he's an effective leader?
was one. I mean, he got us through the revolution and he managed to keep all those soldiers with him through horrible conditions when they weren't even being paid.
Awesome, thank you so much for your time. You have a wonderful day. So we are here at one of my favorite coffee shops, Starbucks, and we are going to ask one of the Starbucks employee what according to them effective leadership is. Okay, let's see. Excuse me, miss. Do you have a couple of minutes to answer a few questions for us?
Sure, as long as I can keep working.
Okay, so how do you define leadership?
I would define leadership as someone who can get the job done, demand respect from their underlings, and just be a well-rounded person that's someone to look up to.
Awesome. Do you have an example of an effective leader?
I would say one of my favorite leaders is actually one of my gunnery sergeants in the Corps. He's not the nicest all the time, but he can be nice. He demands respect, but gives it in return.
So is that why do you think he's an effective leader?
I think he's an effective leader because he does everything with us, and he's right there with us, encouraging us, and on the ground doing push-ups.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. By the way, is my latte ready?
Not yet.
Okay, I have one of the coolest supervisors here with me. She works with me. And so, Melissa, I have 3 questions for you. How do you define leadership?
Leadership is having a goal and pulling others toward you to accomplish the goal.
Okay, so do you have an example of an effective leader?
Everybody's a leader. Everybody. You can lead someone if you have a goal that you bring others into. Everybody can be a leader, and they lead at some point in their life, regardless of where they think they are or not.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time. You have a wonderful day.
No problem.
Howdy, this is Yashwant again. Let us quickly analyze the interviews from previous clips by using some theories, concepts, and leadership definitions from ALED 340. Now, our first interviewee defined leadership as being able to execute a task effectively and efficiently. For her, her boss is an effective leader because he's able to work with their diverse schedules, and he's able to help them work effectively at the hospitality desk. Now, it looks like for this interviewee, high performance is a major factor when she defines effective leadership. And of course, high performance is also one of the P's of effective leadership. While her co-worker defines effective leadership as being able to stay open-minded and work towards achieving a common goal. Now for her, her fish camp co-chair is an effective leader because she was able to get everybody together and make sure that everybody was working towards a common goal. Now for her, having a purpose and working towards that purpose is a major factor when she defines effective leadership. And having a purpose or a goal is one of the P's of effective leadership. Now moving on to our third interviewee, she defines leadership as being able to lead different people to bring a positive action. For her, her high school ROTC instructor is an effective leader because he's able to work with diverse group of students. Now we could define her high school instructor as a situational leader because he's able to modify his leadership to the commitment and competence of different students. Now, according to contingency theory, we can also define this high school instructor as a relational leader because he's not only developing this mentor-mentee relationship with them, but he's also maintaining that relationship by checking on them to make sure that they are successful. Moving on further, our fourth interviewee defined leadership as being able to stay calm during chaos. Now she looks up to her mother as an effective leader because she does a wonderful job at managing their household while having both a career and a family. Now having a career and a family can get chaotic sometimes, right? But it is very important to stay calm during those situations, and the fact that her mother is able to stay calm during such difficult situation makes her an effective leader. Now, according to the triad theory, being able to stay calm and stable is one of the 9 traits of an effective leader. Further, our fifth interviewee defined leadership as setting an example for others, showing some genuine concern for the followers, and putting the greater good of the community or making the greater good of the community as a priority. Now she looks up to Martin Luther King Jr. as an effective leader because he set an example for others. He led by an example. He showed some genuine concern for the community, and he put the greater good of the community first through his leadership. Now, looks like for this interviewee, leadership is about being a servant leader. And as it is evident from the example, Martin Luther King Jr. was a servant leader because he chose to serve people first and lead second. He was able to put the interest of other people first before his. Moving on further, the sixth interviewee defined effective leadership as being able to get a crowd going and inspiring others and having some meaning behind our actions as leaders. For her, his grandfather and uncle are effective leaders because they are an inspiring role model for him. Now we can define the grandfather and uncle as transformational leaders because they inspired the interviewee and they helped him grow as an effective leader by helping him, change his concerns from lower level needs to higher level needs. So we could see them as transformational leaders. Now moving on further, our seventh interviewee defined leadership as the ability to lead with confidence and guide people. She looks up to this Brazilian author as an effective leader because he's able to communicate effectively with his followers and guide them through difficult times through his writings. Now, the fact that he is confident in sharing his writings and guiding people through his writings says something about him. It says that he's dominant in a positive way and he's confident. Now, being confident and dominant are one of the two traits of effective leadership according to the trait theory. Moving on further, our eighth interviewee defined effective leadership as being able to influence others and impact others through their actions. Now, to him, Dale is an effective leader because she leads with an example. She does the work that she expects others to do. Now, the fact that Dale is able to influence and impact others through her action says something about her. Now, Northouse defines effective leadership as a process of being able to influence others and impact others to achieve a common goal. And Dale is able to influence others to achieve the common goal of an organization by leading through an example. Moving on, our ninth interviewee defines leadership as the ability to make hard decisions. To her, George Washington is an effective leader because he was able to keep the soldiers motivated and going during hard time during the revolution, even though when they were not paid. Now, having a high integrity, self-confidence, being able to stay calm and stable during hard times are important traits of an effective leader, according to the trait theory. And these traits help effective leaders make hard decisions during hard times and keep their followers motivated and going during hard times. Moving on, our 10th interviewee defined effective leadership as being able to get a job done and demand respect from their underlings. To her, her sergeant is an effective leader because he works alongside his underlings, gets the work done, he's a well-rounded individual and is very confident, and he demands respect from his underlings. Now, looks like this sergeant has a high desire to influence others around him through his strong moral values, and he's able to get the work done by working alongside his underlings, which makes him a charismatic leader. As we can see through these interviews, people have their own definitions and perspectives of effective leadership. But we can see some common patterns and themes throughout these interviews. One of the common characteristics that all the interviewees shared was having a common goal or a purpose. An effective leader should be able to identify the goal or the vision of the organization. He or she should be able to define that goal or the vision and should be able to share that with the organization and the followers. Another common characteristic was being able to produce a materialistic result or being able to bring a positive change through the process of leadership. From my leadership experiences in and outside this class, I define effective leadership as the process of visioning and bringing a positive change that would otherwise not happen to make this world a better place to live. Our last interviewee, Miss Melissa, does a wonderful job of bringing all these interviews together. She defines leadership as having a common goal and being able to pull others to work towards this common goal. She said everybody could be an effective leader as long as you have a goal and you're able to work with others to achieve this goal. So, the moral of the story is everybody could be a leader. You can improve your leadership skills by working on them